Hey everyone, it's Louisa Munson from Feel Good Astrology, and I've got a feel good conversation today that I think you're going to love, especially if you're one of those cool cosmic cats that can take an idea and not have to accept it or dispel it. That they can sit with an idea and kind of look at it and analyze it and kind of hold the space for it. Because in this session today, with my guest Felix Hyde from felixhyde.com, we're talking about all sorts of energy. He's a quantum energy healer, and he talks very much about the holographic world that we live in and the holographic energies and how he perceives the world. We talk about so many different things, in particular how life and art seem to imitate each other, about the metaverse that is kind of approaching us or coming at us from all sides at one level. We talk about the nature of duality, ascension, the ideas of why we need to heal, what's the purpose of us healing and how we can raise each other up. So if any of those subjects have resonated with you, then you must absolutely sit back, relax, and get ready for this. I will say right at the end, there's a demonstration of his light languages. And if you've ever heard a light language, you'll probably recognize it, but if you've never heard a light language, it may well take you by surprise. So be warned. Right at the end, Felix leads us into a meditation using some of his visioning experience. So anyway, let's bring him on now and hear what he has to say. And so I'd like to bring on Felix now. Hey, Felix, how are you doing?
Hi, Louisa. Thanks so much for having me on today. It's so nice to be here.
Oh, it's lovely to have you. Now, I first came across you when I saw the show that you did with Helen, my good friend Helen.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by what you guys were talking about, because it hit all the things I'm fascinated by, like stagnated energy and trauma and kind of generational stuff. So I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to contact you. And it seems that arrangement was made ages ago.
It
So it's
really
really,
does.
really nice. Yeah, it was before
Yeah.
Christmas. So
Yeah, definitely.
now. I'd love to dive into your experience. So can I start by finding out a little bit more about like how you knew that you worked with psychic energy? Like,
Yeah.
when did you have that realization?
Okay. So, well, that's a very good question. So when I remember the very first time something mystical happened, let's say, was when I
Ooh.
was in year 2 at school.
What is year 2? Sorry, because
Year,
I went to school when when it was like a continuation. Oh, hang on.
I
Like
think it
first
was
year of seniors and second year of seniors. Like,
right. Okay. So there was infant school when I was 4. That's the very
yeah,
first year. Then the second
okay,
year is like when you're 4.
5.
No, when you're 5, then you're 6. Then I think it's when I was 6 actually. So
Okay.
and then just before that you go into the primary school. So that would be like year 3, then year
Mhm.
4, year 5. So I was in year 2 and we were asked in religious education studies to draw a picture
Mm.
of where do we think babies come from. So I know.
Oh, I'm very serious on that. I'd love to hear
Oh
yours.
my
Come
god. Okay, so it was a very amazing time during that class, and I remember everyone was drawing their pictures, and I drew a picture of like stardust coming in from outer space. It literally flying in,
on.
and that was my presentation. It's like, oh, we come from the stars. Um, little did I
Imagine
know at
being
the time, but
today.
yeah. So I presented that to the teacher.
Mm.
And then when I got home, I got a very strong telling off. I was like, "No, you don't come from the stars. Why are you being silly? You come from mummy and daddy." And yeah, that was my first experience of a kind of psychic thing. So from that, it was kind of almost shut off for a bit, I'm gonna say. And then I kind of always had a very big interest in psychic energy and like Ouija boards and tarot from when I was like 13, obviously watching Buffy
Mhm.
the Vampire Slayer and
Yes,
witchy programs.
We've already had a chat about Buffy. I think we might have to mention her a little bit later on.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. So growing up, I had a nanny
Mm.
or like a childminder, and she was also psychic as well. And I always knew, but the other kids didn't really know. They didn't really understand, and the parents didn't really understand. So fast forward to when I was about, I think it was like 18 or 19, I went to a club. I went to a nightclub in my hometown, and it was very busy. It was like a big event. I think it was like a Circo Loco event. And in that room, I was in this big warehouse. In the warehouse, I had a vision of my grandmother coming to me, telling me, "You need to get the hell out of this place right now." And thank God that I listened, because I grabbed my friends. I was crying. I was like, "We need to go." Um, got out of the club, out of this big festival thing. And 10 minutes later, we get a phone call from the promoter telling us that somebody had just been shot in the room that we were in.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that happened, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is ridiculous." Like, I didn't want to be in this country, in this city anymore, or in this country for
yeah.
that matter. So I moved to China, as you do.
Okay.
Yeah. So there, I was still kind of on like a naughty pathway. I was not really doing my healing work that I should have been doing, and I was just partying a lot. And then
Is that what you mean by naughty pathway?
naughty
Like, oh,
pathway, like drugs and alcohol and parties, that kind of thing.
yeah.
Which was a real great turning point actually when I kind of left China. So fast forward maybe like 4 years, into my fourth year of being there.
Mm,
Um, I had a shadow man that was in my apartment,
mhm,
and I could feel its presence constantly. And at night, I could see it standing there in the corner of my room, and it was like a black vortex drawing out the energy. I would get really sick, and sometimes I would wake up as if I hadn't been breathing for a while, in the middle of the night. So I remember my friend was over at the time. We thought my housemate had just come back in. We heard these big in the corridor. So I was like, okay, Natalie's back. So let's go out and see. And there was nobody in the corridor. There was nobody else in the flat. There was a painting that was shaking from side to side. And I was like, oh shit, okay, what do we do now? So
yeah,
naturally you get a bottle of vodka and you carry on. Um,
of course.
so from there, um, maybe about 3 weeks later, I was at my desk and I was working. Um, and I went into trance. And in this trance, my whole neck seized up,
Mhm.
and I ended up with a blood clot in my right arm. So like
Wow.
my whole arm had like swollen up from this thing that was like attached to me, from all of this kind of bad behavior. I was like, things just started going worse to worse to worse. It was quite
Mhm,
scary at the time. And there was just a lot of activity that was really ramping up.
mm.
So I left it for about a year, did the healing that I needed to do
You
there
left
and
a blood
then.
clot. You left a
I
blood
left
clot for about a year.
no, I went to the doctors and, like, got the blood clot sorted, but I was
Oh,
sort of like,
okay.
"Okay, I need to kind of, like,
Yeah,
address this somehow."
yeah.
And it wasn't until I got back to England, um, I found out that I'd had this attachment since I was 13 years old, and this
Wow.
attachment came from doing a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of like, a big wake-up call,
Mm,
and it was playing with my mind, with my surroundings, and things needed to change.
mm,
So I ended up getting sober and completely turning my life around and going on the healing journey. Because from all of the drug use and the stored up trauma, it all started to come out and
yeah,
unravel before my very eyes, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is horrible. This is literally horrible."
yeah.
Um, and after that, when the worst of it was done, I would ask myself, "Okay, I need to heal myself now, and like I can't live like this." Because I was experiencing symptoms of like borderline personality disorder, which I now understand as like the backlog of programs and emotional backlog and things like that need to be addressed. So I went on this big journey of meditating and doing Reiki and this, that, and the other. So really, it all kind of started to expand from that point. After 1 month of being sober, I then got on to a Reiki course and did my level 1, went on to my level 2, which really, they were very much activators for my gifts to bring everything forward so much more intensely. That's like
Yeah.
it was quite intense at the time. And then since then, I haven't really stopped. I've moved away from Reiki, but now I'm working as a holographic energetic structurer. And what was a quantum energy healer before has now expanded into that.
So
So
hang on, give me that title again. Holographic.
a holographic energetic structurer.
So tell me, what does a holographic energetic structurer do?
Okay, so basically, a holographic energetic structurer works with the holographic fields. So
Can
we've
you
got
explain
like,
for anyone
yeah,
that's listening doesn't sort of understand what a holographic field is? What's your
yeah.
understanding of it?
The holographic fields are the different levels and layers of consciousness presenting. So we've got our present consciousness where we are now. And then when we go through the different levels and layers, we've got different fields that are attached to these things. Then the fields will also be attached to the divine masculine and the divine feminine. We've got the twin flame fields, the emerald field, the collective field. I mean, it's infinite.
Are
It's
they almost like
always ongoing.
trying to put it into everyday speak? A lot of people use video processing and Canva and stuff like that. Could you refer? Is like a holographic field almost like another layer or another what's the word? I can't even think of the word I use
You're
now.
on the right path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I put little like in post production, for instance, I'm going to put our names over
Mhm.
the
So
top.
that'll be an overlay, right?
Overlay. That's the word I was
Yeah,
looking. Yeah, like an
perfect,
overlay.
yeah.
That's
So
my understanding of them as well.
brilliant,
I think
yeah, yeah.
there are different things overlaid.
Yeah, exactly that. So when I'm looking at somebody, I will then get another layer that will project over them, which may be like the multidimensional body. And then
Mhm,
I might get a scene behind them that could be, let's take the sacred field, for example, which would be your sacred space. And then beyond that, I might start seeing certain things within that field. It's a development of the scope
mhm.
or the clairvoyant scope, and looking into these different ranges of consciousness, right? Um,
Cool.
so what I do with that is I would go through the different ranges and see the corrections that need to be made and start to run sequence through them. So running sequence would be like to run the energy and start bringing the healing back in, and then journeying through those fields to access certain blueprints, access certain star maps. And when we access the blueprints, it will begin to open up and expand the fields and start building the 5D architecture, the crystalline architecture in the divine realm.
So it sounds like you're doing all the work there, and the person that you're working with is kind of like sat there going la 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 la.
It would be a kind of flow between them. So
Right.
between myself and the client, it can be that way. For the
Mm.
ones who can't,
Yeah.
then I can do the legwork for them.
Mm,
And then just ask for a visualization of X, Y, and Z.
mm,
Tune into the heart, feel the body expand, that kind of thing.
mm.
So it can be done both ways. It's most powerful when both together,
Yeah.
I find. So, and that's really what I love doing.
Mm,
So finding that flow with a partner during these kind of experiences is really how we get the crux of it open. But with the blueprints and things like that, I had one client in Australia a few weeks ago. um, we accessed her source blueprint in that session. She's not really clairvoyant. She feels a lot.
mm.
But since opening that, her whole sentient ability has just gone through the roof, which is great because that's what she wanted. And it brought on such an intense physical purge for her as well. I'm not going to mention any names to protect
Of course.
confidentiality, but
Yeah, yeah,
when she realized, she was asking me what is going on with me. I'm like, okay, so this is the physical purge to release all of that old stuff
yeah.
that was attached to the third dimensional. I'm going to say like the carbon blueprint, the one that we're trying to ascend out of. So to
Yeah.
release all of that in one go can
Mm.
prove quite an intense experience at times. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean, for some, I think a lot of people that listen to the show are people who are quite intuitive and
mhm,
very healing orientated, and so they may well have a modality of their own,
mhm,
or be really curious about it. A lot of them also have like day jobs and are also transitioning into working in the fields that they're interested in.
mhm,
Um, So, what I'd just like to do is just kind of put that in a nutshell. If we could describe it in a real sort of like layman's terms, because
mhm.
not everyone goes, I understand 3D, 5D, and ascension and all this.
Right.
So, um, um, is it a bit like how would you describe if you were describing it to say like your aunt Hilda or something like that?
Sabrina the Teenage Witch, maybe. Perfect.
She goes,
Okay.
she goes, you what, Felix? What are you on about?
Okay, so from my own experience,
Yeah.
when I first had a session accessing my blueprints,
Hmm.
the change that came was almost instantaneous. It came over a period of maybe like 2 weeks to really start accessing everything and everything slotting into place. So it's like all of my channels, they were
Mm,
there and active, but they were kind of misconnected. Now,
yeah.
when the blueprint came online, everything started to slot into place
Mm,
and the vision and scope expanded, the feeling expanded, the old timelines that I was attached to that weren't serving me released.
mhm.
So that would mean my job, my day job at the time,
Yeah.
um, mm, places that I've lived, um, friendships, they
Mm.
all, the
'Cause
ones and relationships,
they
yeah.
all have a little kind of, I almost see it as like a little sucker or a tentacle attached to you. You know, they all have something like coming into you, and they all
Yeah.
have their own energetic feed on you, don't they?
Yes, exactly. So all of those disconnected.
Yeah.
And from that, over the course of maybe like 6 weeks, things
Mhm.
shifted so rapidly. Um, for myself, I was then ready to quit my job and move into the work that I wanted to do as people, new places, new alchemy were all
Mm,
coming online. And I was ready and prepared, and I had the scope to know what I have to do to get
mm.
to where I need to get to and what timeline that I would have to do it in. So all of these things started to line up, and then I was ready to move and do my own thing. So moving into this healing work,
Yeah.
and this really, my hope for everyone that listens is to be able to come into your own power, to claim
Mm.
back your sovereignty, um, because we need that sovereignty and to need to be self-sustaining in order to move into our highest expression, right?
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Can I just check something with you, like one
Mhm.
intuitive to another?
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm feeling like this heart swell.
Mhm.
The only way I can describe it.
Mhm.
And to me, if I could see a map of the world, um, I almost imagine like there's little lights coming on in all these different places as people are waking to a different reality and they're
Mm.
coming into alignment. And every time one person raises their vibration, that raises our potential skills as well as their own
Mhm.
and everyone else that's connected to that field. And so I get
Absolutely.
really excited because every day as I kind of connect in, I feel more and more people are coming into that space. I get well excited about it, I have to say, because
Absolutely, yeah.
the more you're helping other people, the more your skills are increasing, the more potential you have.
Absolutely.
It just feeds itself. That's your understanding as well, right?
Absolutely, 100%. Because
What
when you're
would you
working, sorry.
What would you add to that? Because you must have other thoughts about it.
I mean, whenever I do a healing for someone or with someone, especially in groups, it's always self-activating too.
Yeah.
So all of this healing work that we need to be doing so desperately is constantly working through everyone individually on different levels. So I think to that, as we begin to grow with the power of everyone working together, we are then bringing forth the logos of the collective, which is what we need to be stepping forward to into I believe it's the Princess Aurora, the
Okay.
Divine Princess Aurora, as the Greek logos of the planet, and maybe that's of the planet. I can't remember. See whether I'll get anything from that. Correct. Yeah. So I feel with with all the healing that's going on and the assistance, it's always going to take its time to filter down to certain levels and certain layers. But once the portion of people, I'm getting very hot on the back of my throat at the moment. It's very strange. When the people start coming online, I found during the awakening that people are more reluctant to help the others. It's more they're stuck in a kind of judgment thing against them, and I feel we're coming into that pivotal time of 2022 where we're having twin flame activations through each month, and this year is so incredibly powerful for that balance of the twin flame within. um Once that has kind of occurred to some degree for the collective, then it's going to be a lot easier for the rainbow bridge to pass to the old world so they can join, you know. So
Wow.
yeah.
So how are you feeling? You still feeling hot? Because
It was something was going on there then.
maybe we should change the subject, because you're talking about like understanding healing, and that we need to understand healing. Why do you think why would you say we all need to understand healing? Why does everyone need to heal?
I think it's because we need to recognize that every trigger that we have is just a trigger within ourselves that we're imbalanced, rather than going to blame someone else. And
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it too. Sometimes I
Oh,
do
I'm
get triggered.
massively.
You know, it's human nature, but
Yeah.
it's how can we step beyond that?
Mm,
And when we can identify the trigger coming in,
yeah.
experience it,
Mm,
it the way I get it is like it comes in as like an egg. And when
okay.
the full feeling of that egg of emotion cracks open,
Mhm.
and you've experienced all of the heaviness at first, it cracks open and then it gives you so much information as to where it's all originated from, what it's in relation to, who the people are, and where it's stored in the body. So there's so much that comes from it. And I
Mm,
think if we can just get beyond that first initial uh choice to react or not, then we're really going to be able to change our game with our lives, I suppose.
mm,
So with the healing, once we can understand that, it helps us become more compassionate, more empathy, building for our fellow man or woman, you know. And I think that's so important at this time. There's just been so much
mm,
slander, so much judgment, and so much hurt, and it's so understandable as well. It's just we're at a pivotal chance for change, and it'll
mm.
be a shame to miss that.
Yeah.
It makes sense, you know? Yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
feel.
I mean, I have to admit that at the start of the
Thing.
pandemic, I've put
Yeah.
it in funny ears. Um, um, my first thought was, "Oh, this is what I came here for." It's like, Game on. And I, for anyone watching, I don't mean I came here, to experience whatever's going on, because lots of people have experienced feelings of great fear. I myself have as well, and lots of us, have experienced ill health, or people we know may have. But there's other things that have gone on aside from that thing, that
Yeah, yeah.
started years ago. And for me, that's where the real work is, and where that sense of, this is what I came here for. It felt like something woke up in me, and I thought, oh, it's time. And I've always had this feeling that there's skills inside of me, which, yeah, they're kind of out a little bit. But there's so much more.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when the time is right, all of a sudden I'll know what to do, and I'll just go, and something like flame will come out of my bottom or something. I don't
Absolutely. Yeah,
open
you've
your eyes or
literally just hit
something.
the nail on the head there, definitely. It was such an activating time for so many people, coming into that first part in March. I remember,
Yeah.
um, the vision that I was describing to you earlier. As soon as it hit March 2020,
Mm.
that's when that vision came in. It was around, like, the 20th of March, I think, and I was seeing the great what do they say? The Great Economic Reset.
Mhm.
Um, and with all that, I was like, "Okay, this is weird. I've never heard of this before."
Yeah.
So then things just started to make sense a little bit more the further into the vision that I went. Seeing the businesses collapse and people not knowing what's going on. That's all been very, very interesting just to kind of monitor. But then further into the year, um, I had another vision, maybe about 2 months later, I think it was, when I was taken underground. And
Mhm.
we all know what was going on underground. So all of that was sort of coming to the surface. I was like, oh my God, this is so much more than just a phony virus for um, a financial reset. There's like big, big things that are going on. And from that, I'm thinking, oh my God, what do I do? How do I explain this to everyone? And you kind
Yeah.
of go through the motions. You go through the motions of trying to wake people up and
Mm.
tell your family, tell your friends. When the more of the journey that I've gone on with this, the more I'm like, actually, it's not really our job to do that, because when you try and force an awakening on someone, it can actually push them away further.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah, and
We
you get
definitely all
labeled as
experience that.
you get labeled as a nut, and
Yeah,
people distance themselves from you. But
yeah.
with all of this, it's so important to understand. I really hope the viewers resonate with this. Is that when we are getting mistreated by these other people,
Mm.
can be family members, can be friends, um, into segregation, you have reached a level in your own vibration that has now come out of a match with these old people, these old
Yeah,
places, these old
yeah.
things, and
Mhm.
you're expanding into something so new, so fresh, the best, highest version of yourself that you can be at that time.
Mm.
And yes, it can seem very painful. However, you've got the choice to know that it's painful or that it's liberating. And I
Yeah.
think that's really like the crux of it. And there's going to be so many more people, particularly from maybe like next month onwards,
Mm.
things are coming crashing down, and nothing is going to stop. I hate to say
Yeah.
the cliche, what's coming, but really,
Yeah.
really not. It's quite a miraculous thing that's occurring.
Mm.
So I hope that the listeners would like understand that the people that are pushing you away are the ones that are closed off from their scope, from their intuitive abilities. And that's not to be judged. Sometimes we've chosen that on our pathway because we need to catapult the consciousness at
Mm.
a later date into a
Yes,
higher.
it's interesting what you say about catapult consciousness, because I feel very proud actually after 2 years of banging my head against a brick wall and realizing, oh, this is completely the wrong thing to do. I
Mhm.
red pilled my parents, and it was a real labour of love, I have to say. But when people who willfully turn off their intuition,
Mhm.
then all of a sudden open to it, and can see things with their new eyes, they're very eager to, to speak up. It's
Yeah.
a very interesting perspective. I started. I mean, like you've probably always questioned things. I've always questioned things, right from word go. But I think if you identify with being a bit of an outsider, which I always did,
Yeah, yeah.
if you've got an outside view looking in on how society is, it's very easy to see where parts of it might not resonate or might come undone. And yeah, my intuitive, like my spidey senses, have been going off left, right, and centre this whole way through. Right now, if I listen to news, I just think, okay, what are my senses saying?
Yeah.
What's going on? In fact, I don't really watch the news. If I do, it's because my husband's got it on.
Right.
Actually, like earlier on, like a year ago, it was like, I want to throw that TV out the window. But actually now I can turn off from it because I'm not trying to convert anyone. I just think people come to what they need at the right time for them on their particular journey. And a lot of
Exactly.
people who turn off, it's usually because of hurt. I found, people, I know I turn off to things when I feel hurt,
Yeah,
or
definitely.
embarrassed, or, there's some kind of shame there. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
about like birthing the new reality. I
Mhm.
love the fact that when I asked you about, when did you first realize that you maybe had something psychic going on? I loved how you said that like babies came from the start. My
Yeah.
own experience, when I've got 3 children,
No.
and I've given birth 3 times. When I gave birth to my eldest, my sensation was that, wow, as it was actually happening, I made a sound like I'd never made before, and as I made that sound, I thought, "Oh, that's a portal opener, that is." And and I realized that is actually what I was doing, that there is like a portal inside of you. I realized the room is almost like this, almost like, a space station or something. It opens up like, like we've got this whole like sperm and egg thing. We've got this
Mhm.
whole physical thing. You need sperm and an egg. Well, that's what we've been told.
Mhm.
Maybe at some level. However, there's something else that goes on there, and I think one of the things with women is I think we've got like these little space stations, like wherever your concept of space is, we've got these space stations inside us, and like when something connects, it's like we I don't know, there's like a connection to an outer consciousness, a much bigger consciousness. And then when I was birthing, that portal came out like a Stargate. Boom, there was my boy.
Absolutely.
I felt that
Yeah.
3 times. And yeah, that's my understanding. They really are born of the stars.
Absolutely, 100%. So it's so funny you should say that then, because I was seeing, as the sperm hits the egg and goes into my understanding of sex, um, when it's been so long, the initial, what's the word? The initial
Conception?
conception, there we go, of the sperm and the egg is when the first vibration begins to harness, when the initial vibration begins to create,
Yeah.
for the newborn. Now, as you were talking, I was seeing a vision of the feminine in the stars,
Mhm.
and from that, there are different stargates that connect into the womb, and this is um, kind of, how do I display this? How do I explain this? It's like a flow of creative energy. So it's our most potent creativity, energetic. Um, I'm going to lose my train of thought now because I'm getting dollops of
It's okay.
information coming through. So yeah, you are 100% correct. There are stargates within the womb and within the sacred womb as well. So that would be the energetics surrounding that sort of region through, like we've got a chakra system. It's kind of like a miniature chakra kind of thing,
Okay.
um, or like a vortex really, where it would be that the soul would enter that way,
Mm.
as it comes in. So it's very funny you should say that, because I was also seeing, like, in the stars, the vision of the lady, and when I look into that woman, what I also see is the match to the physical body.
Mhm.
So it's like that would be the kind of connection to the womb, I suppose.
Okay.
I find that quite interesting. Yeah, it's a funny one.
Well, it's interesting you say, like, the soul kind of comes through,
Hmm.
as you give birth, 'cause I heard my children calling me prior to
Oh,
conception and invited
okay.
them to come and join us just in their own time whenever they're ready, I just
Yeah.
said, "We're ready." Um, yeah, we conceived at the drop of a hat,
Hmm.
basically.
Wow.
It's like, "Come when you're ready, boom, hello."
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and I spoke all the way through to my boy. I had dreams and heard him. And then
Mm,
about a month before he was due to come, that that consciousness that I was connecting to stopped. And I was really aware that I just had a baby inside me. So
mhm.
the idea that, people get wiped really came through to me.
Right.
Felt
Yeah.
like I was again, like, is this a portal that us, that women have in their wombs? Because I felt like I was connected to all that is at that time.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden when he was wiped, or the consciousness was prepared,
Yeah.
made scene for arrival in Earth, all of a sudden,
Absolutely.
um, it's like, "Oh, where's my connection gone?"
I
Oh.
know, it must have been quite weird as well because obviously I can't carry children because 'cause I'm a man, but, having that connection because it's so funny you should say that about, your little boy. I connect to my brother's little girl
Uh-huh.
who hasn't been born yet. Um,
Yeah.
now I I remember when I found out about this because I had a vision that I could see her in my dad's house, and she
Wow.
was playing on this little pink truck. She was about 1, maybe 2 years old, and I
Mhm.
always see her from this age. Um, so I phoned up my brother and I said, "Dominic, are you guys pregnant?" And he said, "Yeah, we are, but we're not telling anyone. We haven't told anyone. How do you know?" I was like, "Okay, well, I've had a vision." And he's like, "Okay." I was like, "Well, is it a boy or is it a girl?" I said to him, and he's like, "We don't know yet." And I was like, "Okay, well, you're gonna have a little girl." And then coming a few weeks later, maybe about 2 months later, actually, they had this scan, and it is a little girl. So
Yeah.
it was exactly what I thought. Now, the other day, I was in the shower,
Mhm.
and I looked just for a second into the glass that's next to me, and I could see her standing there on that truck.
Mhm.
So it's just so lovely. I was just wondering though, because if I can connect with her, she doesn't really say much, obviously, because she's a child, I suppose, and in the womb. But at what point was it that you?
I was talking to the ancient energy. I was talking t like, whenever I've
Ah,
connected to my children, I've not heard them as children, I've heard them as adults. I've heard them as
right, okay.
conscious beings. And I in
Mm,
fact, like, when I've been around people when they've passed, I've
mm,
heard them not talking like old giffers or whatever. I've heard them talking like when they're in their prime,
right.
when they're in
Okay.
the prime of their faculties,
Mm.
vital with life.
Oh wow, that's so
But
cool.
I think, and this is the amazing thing with intuitive gifts. I think we all connect in the way that works for us, and
Hmm.
like if we were to put all of our skills together, I don't know, we're all part of, like, we're all little fragments of some massive thing, and the more we
Yes.
come into our energy, the more complete that energy gets. That's my
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that, definitely. So I was thinking about this the other day, with all of these projects that are going on
Mm,
for helping humanity, and we're all intuitively meant to be coming together. It's like you've got to think if one person has to build something, but they need X, Y, and Z powers, these things are always going to come in to the right person, the right place, the right time.
yes.
So if we have certain psychics that would come together, maybe with like an alchemist and things like that, I would just love to see what could be created from that
Mm,
as well, because obviously we build the platforms in the astral, and then
mm,
to see them materialize in the physical, that would be something quite magical to see with a group, I
yeah.
think. So yeah, it's just wonderful
Yeah,
to think of.
absolutely, yeah. Um, I was talking to somebody, Jeff Granville, who I've interviewed quite a few times, and he's got his own podcast as well, so I should put a
Okay.
little shout out to that. But Jeff, he says there's no, um, answer that has not existed. Like, the moment you have the question, the
Mhm.
answer is already there. Like,
Mhm.
they go hand in hand. And so you might not be connected to it, but the answer is connected to your question. And you
Mm.
just have to kind of get into the right flow to hear it.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause I often, have these ideas and think, "Wow, this would be good," and then nothing comes of it.
Mm.
But I always, when that happens, I always think it doesn't matter, because the idea has manifested
Mhm.
earthside, or it's come into the collective consciousness. Someone else will do it. It's absolutely
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I kind of bless the idea and think, "Go well, my friend." I
Mhm. Yeah,
think that's actually enough, isn't it? If we get used
definitely.
to that, we're doing something wonderful and actually helping a great idea reach the person who really can do it at the right time.
Yeah, definitely. And if that idea doesn't necessarily resonate with you, sometimes I've had it when I've had the flows coming through and I'm like, actually, I don't feel equipped to do this right now, but
Mm.
maybe later it will go straight through the chakra system and then back up
Wow.
and into through the grids and back into what is the collective consciousness ready for someone else to take on board. So yeah, absolutely correct. It's so funny to think. Yeah,
I
nice.
love this conversation because,
Oh, me
I mean,
too.
it really is about, like, I mean, like, on one level, it reminds me of one of those, kind of slightly sci-fi police films. What's that one with Tom Cruise where he's, like, scanning, like, there's a screen in front of him, and he's, like, moving this over and that over,
Yeah.
like, using a sort of holograph. And, we're talking about life as if we can play with it, and, like, we can see these energies and take a bit of here and put some over there, and actually that is how I see it.
Yeah,
Um
me too. Absolutely. It's like when you work in the holographic fields and you're working on somebody, then you might see a symbol of alchemy that needs to come in. That will
Yeah,
then be pulled into the field, into the body. The expansion happens, and then you'll get the next streams of energies coming down. Maybe a pyramid might build around them. So
yeah.
yeah, it's totally true. It's exactly like that.
So
Yeah,
you're building castles in the sky, literally, um,
literally.
in the kind of 5D realm and beyond.
Hmm. Hmm.
What about your day job? Like, what are you
Okay.
is there some kind of thread linking them through?
So, do you know what is interesting? I work as a fashion designer, won't be
Uh-huh.
for much longer. Um, and what I have learned over this year is that I needed to really understand the process of design,
Mhm.
of creation for birthing certain projects,
Wow.
right? So that was it, really. That was why I had to be there. I needed to understand the process. Sometimes things go wrong.
Mm,
Sometimes the wrong people come in. It's all a part of how clear your structure is, how accurate your work is,
mm,
for the right things to materialize, the right manifestation of, say, like if I'm designing a garment and if one spec is off
mm.
with like the stitching or maybe the pattern, the whole thing f's up.
Yeah.
And we need to kind of understand that that's okay because it's all just creation, it's just an
Mm.
experiment. That's all we're doing. And
Yeah.
then when we get the fruits coming in at the very end that are exactly to spec and exactly how we like it, then that's great. We can place it there, let people enjoy it, and move on to the next thing.
Right. We were talking about how life and art play together. And obviously, you've got your background in design, um,
Yes.
which I think is very relevant. And so we were talking about, like, the holograms, and I was doing this
Mm,
like I'm flipping Tom Cruise. Um,
right.
Now we both had a bit of a love of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I was saying to you off camera that everything I've learned about life has come from Buffy and the
Hmm.
Buffyverse, and also a lot of Joss Whedon stuff. Like, oh crikey, what's it called? Serendipity. I can't remember what it's called now. There's gonna be people
That's
screaming
okay.
the name of me. I can't even think of it. But he's written some really great stuff. And I think often what really happens in life
Mm.
is revealed to us through the media, through music. What are your comments on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So if we look to, let's say, Facebook at the moment,
Yeah.
they have created this metaverse
Yes.
thing. Now, with the metaverse, it's very interesting because it is a replica of life as
Mhm.
we know it in a digital format.
Mhm.
Now, in this life, we can go anywhere that we wish to. Um, and it's the same thing with virtual reality headsets.
Mm.
What it is, it's kind of like a mapping of the pineal gland and a mapping of the holographic field. So when we close our
Yeah.
eyes, we can look into that and see the holographic like universe. Now,
Yeah.
as we put the headset on, what it does is it mirrors that, but it damages the pineal gland. It
Right.
distorts it. So we have to rely on this technology to do that job for us, right? So with the mirroring of real life in the metaverse, I find this interesting, but also very disgusting and creepy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so seeing that, how much it's taking over, I'm like, I remember seeing a piece of art, maybe it was a meme, of an NFT creator. So an
Mhm.
NFT creator, this absolutely baffles me. I don't understand it. Um,
Can you
it's
explain NFT for people that
so,
are listening in?
yeah, absolutely. So an NFT is a digital piece of art that you
Mm.
keep in your metaverse home, right? And some of these things can go from like $50,000. I'm not even joking for like a picture of a rabbit. Like it's crazy. So what it is in this meme of this, I'm seeing this NFT creator living like an absolute slob, like has all this money, but everything's going in this digital world. So where's this money going really? And then we have to look at it and see what's behind this NFT, what are they trying to do? And then it really, really pans out into something much bigger, um, as a harnessing of the digital currency. But where are the funds going to?
Yeah.
That's the question we need to be asking. So we can see this manipulation of art coming through into digital format. We can't touch it. We can't appreciate it with our physical eyes. We have to go through into a digital realm to even experience it. And it's the same thing with like Balenciaga. They're making digital clothes to wear, expensive digital clothes to wear for your little digital person. It's like what is
Seriously.
this? Like,
Goodness, these people need to get a life. But I mean, it's
oh
I
yeah.
shouldn't mock because they are living their life in the way they want to,
Yeah,
presumably.
that's true. But we see this as like they're trying what it looks like to me is that the disconnection from human life
Yeah.
is moving into this
AI.
metaphysical life when there is metaphysical, the fun organic version, and
Yeah.
then there's the dare I say it,
AI
trans
metaphysical.
yeah, that's probably a better word
Yeah.
to use. And it's funny now if we link that back to healing as well, there are
Mm,
many, many different AI technologies that are put into the quantum realm that
mm,
we have trapped within our bodies as well that manipulate certain emotions, they manipulate the way that we think,
mm,
and getting those out is kind of imperative to change the lens of our scope and to regain control back of our thoughts, I'm going to
mm.
say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite a weird one. I mean, I could go on from that for hours, but it's like
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a very high vibe topic, but it's good to be explored and understood with self-directed study as well, and just see the
Mm,
comparisons, note the comparisons in the day-to-day life.
mm,
Um, and because the way that I see it is that it looks like fashion is going digital or hybridized.
mm,
Um, and then the reflection with that, I think, why are we being pushed into a hybrid life? What's being created there? And is it sinister? It looks pretty sinister to me.
yeah.
So there's a lot
Yeah,
there
I
to
mean, like
explore.
when I was thinking I want to have children, have a family, have a family
Mm,
experience, you know, I'm pretty sure any mum or father, when they or even uncle, when they find out
right.
there's this person joining their family,
Hmm.
you have a desire for that person to live in the world, and you probably imagine them climbing trees and actually making
Yeah.
their own designs, or painting and falling in love and really feeling it, and and the digital world around them is doing it for them. And I have to say, like, the digital world for me, or not so digital, but back 20 years ago when I was watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer and learning lots of different ideas about what might be going on in the world. The funny thing is, it actually felt like it was an alternate reality for me. At that time, I was quite ill, so I was off work for a really long time, and it actually felt like I was. It felt like I had friends. I mean, obviously, I did have friends, but couldn't see them fully. But it felt like I had something going on, and so I can see that with the digital realm, the idea that there are these worlds within worlds, people can get involved. So it's fascinating, isn't it? That we've got this, we're coming out of the 3D duality. That's the idea.
Yeah.
As we're doing that, there's a 5D reality around us, a 5D polarity. One that's completely organic, which is the one that you connect to, and definitely the one I connect to. And then
Absolutely.
there's this technological one being created around us as well. I mean, I see the internet as being basically the akashic records, isn't it?
Yeah. That's so
Just
true,
like
isn't it?
physical versus organic.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating time to be alive.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
bewildering. What advice would you give to somebody who's newly awakening to their own energies, and they're opening their eyes and thinking, "Oh, crikey, what these guys are talking about? Oh my goodness!" Like, how can people keep their cool? Or
Such a wonderful question. It really is. Oh my God. I think the best thing I can say is take breaths between your thoughts, because when we get caught up in these heavy conspiracies and things like that, we can get carried away with it because they hold so much energy behind them,
Yes.
and the waters are muddy.
Mm,
Um, when you're newly awakened, I would say do your work, do your healing work whilst you're experimenting, whilst you're learning about these topics of taboo, um, because you need to be able to harness your discernment and understand your own energetic boundaries.
mm,
So holding your energetic boundary and being able to know what's truth is really what's going to save you, what's
mm.
going to help you get to where you want to get to in a shorter amount of time.
Wow.
Always ask for help, but don't ask people, ask for your higher self.
Yeah.
And they will
Yes.
send you the right people if you can't hear straight away. Always, always, always.
Yeah.
And just know what you're learning is what you need to hear. Sometimes you will have to go through certain conspiracies, you'll have to go through certain things to get yourself pulled out into the truth.
Mm,
That's okay. That's not needed to be judged. It's just an experience. Sometimes you need to clear something to be able to access the truth.
mm.
So, yeah, and you can
Wow.
do it.
Yes, that's great advice. I like that.
Thank you.
So, if somebody wanted to connect with you, Felix,
Yeah.
how is the best way for them to connect with you?
Okay, so I have a website which
Mhm,
is www.felixhyde.com. I also have a YouTube account which I will give to you
mhm.
to put underneath, and I've also got a Telegram group now which is new.
Have you?
I do,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so that one I'm just starting to post new short meditations to help you get through the
mm,
week, which I will then open up into maybe like a bi-monthly Q&A.
mhm,
I've also got multiple um, group meditations that I do for free each month, and they're all live.
mhm,
So you can sign up on my website for those. And then I've also got um, scheduled group sessions as well as one-on-ones too. Yeah.
fantastic. So, really check out your website.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to go.
Yeah. Felixhyde.com.
Yeah.
Do you know what your name means, by the way? Because I'm sat in Portugal. Felix is pronounced Feliz.
Oh,
It,
really? Okay.
yeah, and it means blissful, joyous, glad, happy,
Oh.
lucky. Like um like people use Felicia at Christmas time.
Yeah, like Feliz
Like,
Navidad, and yeah, I know the
"Oh,
Spanish version. Yeah, I love it. Gorgeous.
Feliz Navidad." Yeah,
Do, do,
I love that
do, do,
tune.
do.
It's played in a lot as well. They don't have their own version of it, but
Oh, really?
yeah, it's a great name to have. So,
Amazing.
given that you like to do a meditation, could you lead us out on a meditation, please, today?
Absolutely, I'd be delighted to do so. Yeah.
Thank
Okay. And if you go ahead by placing your palms facing up in your lap, the sign for receiving, go ahead and take a deep breath in, breathing in pink, unconditional love, light, spheres of light, 1, 2, 3, coming into the heart and bursting, releasing that breath. Ki haturos no oshni iki amana ati arasnai. Saam namati barasnas no otipo o ye ki resnishni iti am yaat. Ka hotoros nos no otopoch kota ayana ish. Shiti rasnai saam namahat bayana. Breathing forth through the beloved, breathing forth into the heart. Liquid gold like a waterfall falling into the crown. Running into the body through the vertical axis. Expanding through the chakra system, releasing grey intonation from the body, releasing out of the mouth vocally. Centering into stillness. Nakioros nos no otipahat, shahiris nisni itiam shatai. Entering through into the source origins. Crystal blue light all around. Moving in through the holographic expression of the heart into the nodal joins, connecting into the lotus intercept. As the lotus begins to spin, expanding, filling with this blue aqua, liquid energy, releasing sadness, releasing despair, releasing tragedy, releasing confusion and disorientation. We open with the golden sphere in the center point of the lotus, expanding outwards into the beyond. Drawing up the emerald green from the earth, connecting into the golden sphere. Nakia hatarasnai shapnai. Mahirisnisni itiam shetanesni ikia hatarusnus notpuch kotata atarasnash nanam namahina it. Sikierisnus notpoina am namahach katata ayanishni tiapiatarasnus notpoi. Breathe. Expansion through the quadrant, building the light towards the resurrection of the horizontal vertical through the body, through the Vitruvian Man. Anchoring into the sacred field. Into the stream. Overlooking the valleys. The golden cross facing the sun. Through divine intervention of Solaris. Energizing the connection. Nahataras nashna atapai antikia huturoi. Sukna hat tashne kia drasnum. Through the horizon flows a peach, pink, and vanilla light running through the central joins, activating through the lower chakras, releasing the stagnation, releasing the roots anchored to the old templates. And as the sun shines down through the roots, coming into the blueprint, dissolving, releasing the entrapment from the Earth Star chakra as you stand with your feet in the water. Taking that connection and bringing into the solar plex. Mental snapshot of the scene as the roots dissolve into cosmic dust. With the platinum connection to the source angelic flowing through the tree of life, birthing new roots. Expanding through the branches, cleaning out those channels with the platinum gold flecked light, releasing miasma, releasing intrepidation. Nahataras nam satayanish, kiataros no ukye. See those roots grow through the golden tree of life, overlaid through your body into the sacred field, and drawing in that crystalline water. Activating through the crown, through the pineal gland. Bringing in the caduceus, overlaid, connection to the earth core. Synthesizing the frequencies. Releasing stagnation, releasing anxiety. And coming back into the source origin, streaming that platinum light through the being, through the fields, and sealing with liquid gold. Containment for your practice for today. Nakirasnayam na atipahu kuosh no otiparasnam namaha katata asni ishitya hamnay it. And when you feel ready, you can bring yourself back around.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Yeah, no worries.
Feeling quite chilled out now. Quite sleepy.
Yeah, it was good. That was nice.
Thank you so much. And for all of that light language.
Yeah.
So
It's
much.
a pleasure. It's my
I
pleasure.
have a couple of clients that speak light language, and
Oh, nice.
it sounds like you speak the same, though I'm sure it's individual, but it has the same sounds.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
just flows from them.
Yeah, I speak quite a few now. There are different dialects from different points of origin.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've got the angelic, and we've also got our own specific one. And I can do the galactic one, ancient Egyptian, elemental. Sometimes that's quite hard to speak because it's so high pitched. But yeah, there's many.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. I've absolutely loved this chat, this
Oh,
dive
me too.
into all things holographic and unusual and helpful and healing. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for
Oh,
coming on, Felix.
thank you so much for having me as well. It's been wonderful. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, we'll have to do it again.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm.
Lots of love then.
All right, love. Mwah. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who listened.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. I loved that. I'm feeling and I say this a lot actually at the end of my shows, but I'm feeling quite giggly and quite elevated. It was so much fun. I really like him. I'm sure I'll have Felix on again some other time. But yeah, if you'd like to work with Felix, please do go to www.felixhyde.com. That's FELIXHYDE.com. And you can subscribe and also reach out to him. Remember, he's also got his meditation groups, his online groups. He's got lots of different events lined up, which you can see from his website. If you've enjoyed this, then please do feel free to share it. And of course, if you haven't already and you've enjoyed this, then please do like, subscribe, and also click on the notification bell. Anyway, lots and lots of love to you from wherever you've been listening from, forever, wherever in the world or universe or holographic realm you have come from. I really appreciate you, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.